Hello everyone, long time no see. It's been forever since I last made a video, but with everything going on with the pandemic and the coronavirus, and I haven't been able to get to work in probably about, I don't know, 5 weeks. So what I want to do today is just do like a quick video on the 2017 Camaro. We're going to do the brake pad update on this because my back brakes are destroyed on this. It's vibrating really bad anytime I try to hit the pedal. Got some supplies here that we're going to dig into in a little bit, and I also wanted to give some people a quick update on what's going on with the TW200. I did not stop working on it. I just haven't been able to get to it. Like I said, it's been locked up in work for about 4 or 5 weeks. This is the first time I've seen it in that amount of time too, but I've been doing a lot of work with the paint and the tank, and just waiting for some money to come in so I could finish it up. So let me dig into some of my parts that I got here, and we'll see if we can start working on the Camaro. Alright, so the parts we got here today, the brakes for the rear of this car, these are the single piston calipers for the base model Camaros with the electric parking brake. So we got a couple brand new rotors here from Raybestos and a couple of Raybestos rear pads, which these actually look really cool. These were all on sale on Rock Auto. All this set me back about 85 bucks to do the back brakes. So I got a couple cans of caliper paint here. I want to do some painting of the brake pads. I like them red. And then we're going to paint the dirty calipers inside there in aluminum color. Doing a little prep work on the brake pads before installing them. I really like the design that was on the back of these, but that's just bare metal. And anybody that lives in the Rust Belt knows that's going to rust up in just one winter. So I'm giving them all just a quick coat of this VHT caliper paint, and we'll see how long it holds up. But as time progresses, I see myself just spending more and more time just painting all these components just to make them look a little bit nicer, or at least stay nicer through the winter months that we have. But just a couple light coats, and while these babies are drying, we'll start taking apart the stock brakes. All right, let them dry for about a half hour. They should be done cooking. All right, first hurdle, we got the wheel off. We got a torque spit in here, and this sucker stripped right out, so we're gonna get ready to drill this thing. All right, so we got the head of this guy drilled off here. Now we can continue getting that rotor off. We're going to move on to the calipers, and when we get the chance, once this comes off, we're just going to grab a set of vice grips and turn that out. Next, these caliper bolts, they're a 14mm socket. I already got the bottom one out. We'll yank this top one out here, and then we'll just get our pry bar and pry the caliper out of the mounting bracket. And then we got some bigger bolts on the back there I still got to figure out, and that one's actually not too rusted. The other one's a little rusted, so we're going to stick this guy in the sandblaster and anti-seize him up. But here's your electric parking brake assembly. I'm going to try to have to... Ooh, that's loose. I'm going to have to try to hold that up with some safety wire or coat hanger. All right, caliper safety wired up out of the way. I had to fight this caliper bracket off that holds the pads on. There are two 18mm bolts that are on the back here. One right here, and one here on the back. It's actually in good shape. What is that, thread locker? That's probably why I needed the cheater bar on it. We're going to stick that over with the rest of our parts treasure trove. See if we get this one out. Yeah, we're going to clean that thread locker off by the time we're done. And this comes off, and now we're ready to replace. Oh boy, that back pad is really bad. Well, while this is off, I'm going to paint this too, in that aluminum paint. Okay, progress. Well, this is why that torque spit wouldn't come out. 3.5-year-old car. That sucker's just rust welded in there. So what I'm going to try to do, see if we can wire wheel this hub up a little bit, and see if I get some heat on there with a pair of vice grips. Maybe I'll get lucky and be able to turn it out. But for now, I mean, that ain't coming out. That's now part of the hub. We're gonna try our luck. See if we get some heat on this, and maybe we can break it loose. Luckily, there's not really anything sensitive behind here. There's no parking brake assembly. It's all on the caliper. So we're going to heat this thing up as hot as we can get it. And maybe we're going to be able to break this thing loose with a pair of vice grips. I'd like to be able to know what thread size it is so I can tell you what kind of bolt goes in here. But whatever bolt does go back in here, it's definitely going to be anti-seized. Salt-like. Rust belt. Victory is mine. Boy, this thing's fighting. Well, at least I got some threads in here to see what side this is. See if I get a ride to the hardware store down the street. The heat definitely did the trick. It's like whenever you're trying to break rust, it's like heat is always the answer. I want to clean up this hub a little bit more after this comes out. Ooh, that is hot. Jerk. All right, before we go and throw a paint job on this, we're going to crack the chrome sliders off, and we're going to service the boots and the pin sliders with some fresh grease. These ones are actually in pretty good shape. They're just a tiny, tiny bit sticky. So we're just going to take our screwdriver here. Let's see if we can pop these guys loose, because our new pads came with new ones. It's really hard with one hand. It's okay, we'll just do the one side, because each side is similar. There she goes. All right, here's the bottom of our clip. This won't get reused. We have brand new sliders. So that goes over there. One thing to look for, though, whenever you take these off is you see how you get a little bit of rust buildup under here? This will push up on the bottom of your new chrome slider pads and make your pads tight, and they'll get sticky. So we're going to hit this with a wire wheel and get all the gook out of there. And we'll be able to press the new pads on. So now for the top part here, yeah, see, it's just a little bit stickier than what I like. I got some grease from our grease gun here. Just going to put a little bit on here, push it back in, and then we're going to tape it off and throw a fresh coat of paint on these. Now for some cleanup-y stuff, it always feels better to put new cleaned up parts on the car. So we're going to put in some nice freshly painted mounting brackets. Ooh, I better move the skid plate here. I don't want to get any silver overspray on this guy. We'll put you down there for a minute. Okay, back to this guy. We're going to spray these up with some nice aluminum spray paint. Oh, they're looking better already. I can't wait to put them on the car. They're looking pretty rusty. All right, we'll flip them over. I got to run to the hardware store, get some new set screws for the rotors, and we'll be ready to start putting parts together. Okay, so we're on the other side of the car, and we ended up just putting it together, but one obstacle that we kind of had to overcome that I've never seen before is this electric parking brake mechanism on the caliper. Now, no matter how hard you try, this piston will not go in. We tried doing all kind of things with seat clamps and trying to push it in with this. It won't go in because of the electronic parking brake assembly. Now, from the factory, the way they do it is they have a computer to where they will actually have this mechanism retract the piston for you. Now, if you don't want to buy the $200 electronic gizmo that winds this back in, there's a way of doing it yourself, and it's really not that complicated. We just did a quick search on YouTube, and there's a guy with a Volkswagen that did it. But anyway, there's two bolts on this electronic parking brake assembly, one here and one here. We're going to whiz these out real quick. Oh, don't fall. Okay, there's one. And then we got another one down here. We're going to whiz this guy off. Get that out of there. Okay. Now the mechanism is now free from the caliper. Now remember how this goes together, because it can fit on one of two ways. So this little spline here on the inside of your parking brake assembly is what winds this puck in and out in order to set the parking brake. So we're going to set this off to the side here. And now what we're going to do is there's a little gear assembly in there, which we found, I think this is a T40 Yeah, this is a T40. We're going to stick this inside here, and you can wind this by hand. At least I did on the other one. And I'm going clockwise. And now that I wound it in a couple turns, you can just take this and start pushing it in. And see how it only went so far because I only backed this out so much. So what I'm going to do, keep winding this until I can get our caliper puck all the way bottomed out so we could seat it with the new pads, because right now it'll never fit on with those new thick pads. Let's see if that does it. There it is. Okay, now we're all the way bottomed out. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the Torx and I'm going to go counterclockwise and bottom it out on the new setting, which actually looks like I hit it right there. Okay, and now we're ready to repaint this and load in the new brake pads. So now we got some new parts getting ready to go on. This is a new Raybestos rotor. I got this one because not only was it on clearance, but it's got the painted inner sides. That's normally where they rust, so we're going to slide this on it. Yeah, I go nuts with the anti-seize because we're in the rust belt and just tired of seeing stuff rust, and I hate beating brake rotors off. So we got this on. Yeah, that looks good. And then on the other side, when we had that broken bolt, I got this one hammered out on this side. Didn't turn out too good, but this is that Torx bolt. I'm replacing them with these Phillips head screws. This is a metric 6. So this goes right in here, and this holds our rotor in place. Okay, so now we're going to start putting on the new slider assembly into the caliper bracket. We're going to load in our new pads. So these, I didn't get to show you on the other side, but now that I got a good cameraman, I'm going to take advantage of it. But these, they just press in here. These are what your pads are going to slide on. There we go. We'll do the upper half. Which way does that go? That way. Sometimes they're a little tough to go on, but they are spring-loaded. They're just held on through tension. There's that. All right, those are seated. Now, before we put the pads on, we're just going to give them a light coating of anti-seize. That's a little more than a light coating. It doesn't hurt it. Better to overdo than underdo, I guess. That's going to go inside here. Everywhere where the pads are going to slide and make contact is where you want to get a little bit of lube. Now that that's in, we could load these pads in. Now how this goes in the car, let me think for a minute. By the way, upside down. Is it upside down? Yeah, it's going to go this way in the car. Thanks, camera guy. So how these get loaded is these pads are pretty much identical to each other, but one has a squealer on it. You see how there's this little piece of metal? That goes on the top inside of the car. So this goes in, spring loads in there, and then this is going to go in here. There's one pad loaded. I got anti-seize on it. I'll wipe it off. Oh. You just touch one piece of this stuff and you just like turn completely gray, but it works. And we'll load the other one in here. All right, that's ready to go into the car. All right, so I got some fresh paint laid on our caliper, and now we're gonna put the parking brake assembly back on. Now, these little splines, they got a mesh with the splines that are inside here. So we're just going to stick this together, wiggle it a little bit until it wants to fall in place. There it is. I thought that would go together a little bit more difficult than what it would. Okay, there's that side. Do the other side here. All right, all I need to do is just snug them up with the hex key, and then we'll do the last 4 bolts, and then it's complete. So we're just tightening up the last few bolts. I have the main caliper bracket on here, the 2 18mm bolts in the back. The bottom one's tight. Let's get this top one on. I like to keep these pretty tight. Okay. Now, this assembly is going to go over and fold on this, and if we pushed in the electric parking brake far enough, this is where it's going to tell us if we did good or not. Oh, slid right on. We did a good job. All right, I already got the 2 top bolts here anti-seized up. I know some people don't like to anti-seize these, but you know what? Some people will put a couple dabs of thread locker on these, but nature likes to thread lock them for us. So I'd rather have them come apart easy than come apart too hard. All right, there's that. All right, and then the bottom one, and they just tighten up with a 14mm socket. That's it. Brake job's complete. All right, let's check out the finished product. Sorry I didn't clean up the rest of the car, but it actually snowed here a few inches the other day. But boy, I really like how that aluminum contrasts with the red. But it's going to look really nice for my idea with the front calipers. Now, these do have the stock LT brakes up front, and I picked up a set of Brembo 4-piston calipers, and I'm going to see if I could throw those on in another video. I'm still gathering all the parts that I think I'm going to need for it. That should be a fun episode for the future, but for the time being, I did not stop working on the XT200. Just waiting for the those Trump checks to come in so I could throw a few $100 at it and get some parts. But in the meantime, hopefully this video will suffice until I get another one up. But anyway, thanks for watching.